Good evening guys and welcome back to the FM Scout YouTube channel and welcome back to another episode of our series Into the Future, where we take a current FM17 wonder kid and see how he gets on in his career when left to the AI alone. In tonight's episode you can see of course that we will be taking through Gabriel Jesus, the player who's just moved to Manchester City, and it has to be said has started quite well. However, before we get into the episode, I would just like to direct you to my channel, where I'm currently in charge of Manchester United. I've just headed into Season 3. Things have been going really well, so if you could check it out, maybe take a view of a couple of the videos, maybe even drop a cheeky little sub, that'll be grand. The link will be in the description. So when we start the game, Gabriel Jesus is of course still at Palmeiras in Brazil. However, if we just take a quick look at his transfer, we can see future transfer to Manchester City for £27 million. That being said, although he commanded a high transfer fee, he's valued on the market at £9.5 million and is currently earning £8,500 while playing in Brazil. We can see from his media description that he's a wonder kid, and his player traits in that he likes to lob the keeper and knocks the ball past opponents. So as we know by now, I do use a traffic light system, and unfortunately we can't see any greens anywhere. However, there is a lot of yellow. 14 acceleration, 15 agility, 14 balance, 14 fitness, 15 pace and 13 stamina. Goes to show that his physicality is probably the strongest part of his game. However, his technicals aren't too bad neither, with dribbling, finishing, first touch, technique all at 14 and his crossing at an admirable 12. He's doing pretty well in the technical department, and his mentals for a young lad at only 19 years old are, I would say, not middle of the road. He's certainly a lot better than middle of the road, but when it comes to wonder kids, I have seen much better. So as we look into Gabriel Jesus' career stats, of course, there's not much there. The lad is only 19 years old. In his first season in Brazil, he did manage to get 20 appearances, scoring 4 goals. And in his second season, as the game starts, 7 appearances, 3 goals. However, that of course will go up going forward before he makes his move to Manchester City. And as we look at his landmark achievements, he did of course win the Olympic Games in 2016 with Brazil. And he has won, I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I'll probably murder the name, but he has won what looks like the Brazilian equivalent of the FA Cup. So what we'll do now, in the namesake of the series, we will head into the future by 5 years and catch up with Gabriel Jesus at the age of 24 years old. So here we are then in the year 2021, and as expected, Gabriel Jesus is at Manchester City following his move from Palmeiras. He is now valued at 38.5 million and earning 135 grand a week. However, he is only on rotation for that contract. His media description has gone to winger, which maybe indicates that as a wonder kid he's not quite fulfilling his potential, because I would have liked to have seen at 24 that world class will be tagged in front of that. He has added a couple more player traits though, with attempts overhead kicks and runs with the ball down the right. And another thing that looks fairly evident to me that is not maybe quite made it to the world class potential we were expecting is the fact that once again I can only really see one green. We will however take a closer look first of all with his technicals, and as we can see, to be honest guys, only very slight increases. We've gained 1 on corners, 1 on crossing, 1 on both his dribbling and first touch, 1 on each of his free kick and heading, 2 on his long shots, which is a little bit admirable, and then 1 on his passing, penalty taking and technique. It has to be said, at 24 years old, a little bit disappointing, I think. I think he's got a better potential in real life. However, yeah, maybe I was expecting more. We will however move on and take a look at his mentals. He has gained 1 in his anticipation, 1 in his composure, 1 in concentration, 1 in decisions, 2 in his leadership and 1 off the ball, 2 in his positioning, 1 in his teamwork, 1 in his vision, and that's it. So again, as a player gets older, you normally notice that their mentals get a little bit higher, but it has to be said, it is only been a little bit. His physicals, however, were arguably where he's more effective as a winger. And let's have a look. So yeah, his agility's gone up by 1. We know that already. We could see the green popping up there. But his stamina's gone up by 2, and his strength, so he's getting used to the rigours of the Premier League. Natural fitness has gained 1. His pace has remained the same. His balance has gone up by 1, and his accelerations remain the same. As we know, his agility's gone up by 1 to 16. But yeah, I think as a 24-year-old Gabriel Jesus, once again, I've said this in every video I've done previously, guys, but when left to the AI, I personally feel that the AI will never get quite the best out of a wonder kid. Of course, when managed by someone who knows what they're doing with younger players, with wonder kids on Football Manager, I am of the full belief you will always get much better from them. We will, however, go from here and take a look at his career stats. And as we can see, in the January of that first season, he did make the move to Manchester City for £27 million. 13 appearances, 3 goals and assists with an average rating of just shy of 7. Probably not too bad for someone who'd come in mid-season into the Premier League. But his following season he did manage to better it slightly, playing 23 games, 6 goals, 5 assists. He picked up a player of the match as well, so he got just over a 7 there. But then the following 3 seasons, it seems as though it's where it's gone downhill for him now. I don't know whether it's been a change in management, change in player style or something, but a 6.64, a 6.56 and a 6.69 3 years on the go has to be said for our Into the Future series is possibly one of the worst ones yet. However, for his personal landmarks, it has to be said the lad's done well. He got his international debut versus Chile in 2016 and then scored his first goal for Brazil against Venezuela in 2017. In 2018 he won the Champions League with Manchester City, and then in the same year the Super Cup. Then managed to win the Premier League in 2020 before winning the FA Community Shield in 2020 also. So from a trophy standpoint, although the lad's not progressed in quite the best way, he's been at a club where he has managed to pick himself up some trophies. However, I did check out his personal landmarks, and at the moment, nothing worth a mention. Of course, the obvious Premier League sort of team of the weeks, etc., but nothing as a notable achievement. So once again, we will head 5 years into the future. We will then see Gabriel Jesus at 29 years old, when he should be at the peak of his powers and hopefully performing a lot better than he did at the age of 24. So here we are, the year 2026. Gabriel Jesus still at Manchester City at 29 years old. Now only valued at 12.5 million, still earning the same money a week on a rotational contract. His media description still only a winger, and he's not added any more player traits to his game. But of course, we're here to look at the stats, and his attributes at the moment, weak. Very, very weak. So we'll start by checking out his technical attributes, and it has to be said from the outset that there's not many improvements. In fact, there may even be some that's gone down. Yep, his dribbling has dropped by 1, it's gone to 14. His free kick taking's gone up, and that's it guys, nothing. We actually had a drop in 1 attribute, we had 1 go up, and that was about that. It has to be said, it doesn't look like this lad's had the greatest of careers, but we will go on and check his mentals. Now this is ordinarily where you expect to see a player progress as he gets older, and once again, it seems as though Gabriel Jesus has let us down somewhat. His anticipation's gone up by 1, his flair evidently by the green has gone up by 1, and once again, no more improvement. Nothing, not a stitch. Onto his physicals now, and this is where we sort of expect players to maybe drop a stat or two, so Gabriel Jesus will not be the only player who's done this. But he has lost that extra 1 he got in his agility at the age of 24. And he's also losing a little bit of stamina. So it has to be said on the outset right now, the way we look at Gabriel Jesus when left to the AI. So it has to be said at the moment that Gabriel Jesus is maybe not set the world alight. However, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If we were to run through this experiment from the start again, there is every chance we would have a totally different outcome. And he could be a world beater. We will, however, go and check his career history and see how his stats have been getting on. So following those 3 abysmal seasons, well not abysmal, that's being unfair to the lad, but he had 3 relatively bad seasons with, very, very sort of, mid-range 6s, shall we say. And it carried on for the next 2 seasons. He did manage to peak and get himself a 7.02 average rating a couple of years ago, but then the year after, for whatever reason, only managed 1 appearance, 6.3 rating, and I'm going to be amazed if he sees his career out at City. By the time we go into the future, I would have thought that he's going to end up at another club to earn a little bit of money just to see his career out. So as we move on to his achievements now, especially his landmark achievements, and once again, if nothing else, at least the lad's getting silverware. In 2022, he went on to win the Premier League, did it again in 23, along with a Charity Shield, wins the EFL Cup in 2024 along with a 2nd Champions League, a 2nd Super Cup in the same year, then on to a FIFA World Club Cup. And once again, much like at the age of 24, the lad hasn't managed to get any personal accolades that are worth a mention, which is a bit of a shame considering all the silverware he's picked up, but based on the average ratings he was getting, doesn't really come as a surprise. So for the 3rd and final time of this episode, we are now going to go into the future and see whether Gabriel Jesus stays in the game, maybe becomes a manager or a member of staff, or simply retires from football. So here we are then in the year 2033. Gabriel Jesus has remained in the game. He's a manager, or possibly an assistant manager or a coach or a scout. He's spread himself thinly, shall we say. He's not got a job anywhere yet. He does only have a National C licence. So yeah, remained in the game, not retired, which is it's always nice to see, because if you were in a long-term save, it's nice to see these players remaining around and maybe coming up against them yourself as a manager in the future. So we will go check out his history now, see whether he managed to stay at Manchester City, see whether he actually did any better on what was really quite a torrid career, and maybe the hugest surprise is the fact that he moved to Chelsea for 10.25 million, and better yet, started to up his game. In his first year at Chelsea, there was only 2 years, but in his first year, he managed to get a 7.19 rating after 19 appearances, 7 goals and 4 assists. Following year, he did only make 3 appearances before Chelsea sold him for 21.5 million, which seems almost ridiculous when you consider that the lad really hadn't played that well. He then managed to get a 6.99, a 7 rating, followed by a 6.88, and then in his final year in the game, he was at FC, I'm going to murder this name, Midtjylland in Denmark. Probably pronounced it completely wrong. I apologise to the Danish out there if I have, but managed to play 19 games, 5 assists, got a 6.68 rating before calling time on his career. So as we move on to his landmark achievements now, guys, he has gone on to win a Premier League with Chelsea, followed by 2 leagues and a cup with Sporting. So once again, the lad has ended up with quite the trophy cabinet when you consider, really, from my opinion, as a wonder kid, he's not done that great. Even from the Into the Future series I've done on FM Scout up to now, just, I would say it's out and out been the worst one. I also went on to check his personal achievements, and much like the rest of Gabriel Jesus' career, he picked up nothing personally. No personal accolades, no great achievements. It was pretty much just team of the weeks, player of the months, etc, etc. So if I had to form an opinion based on this experiment, I would say don't go near him with a barge pole. However, if you were to be starting the game as Manchester City, I'm pretty sure you could get a hell of a lot more out of him than Pep Guardiola or whoever was managing City in this game, because it seems as though he somewhat went to waste. City, of course, being the type of club that likes to spend a lot of money on Football Manager, it wouldn't surprise me if he was just sort of pushed to the side for the latest and greatest big signing. So I've hoped you enjoyed this Into the Future, guys. I know they don't always turn out the greatest kid of all. However, like I always say, they're sometimes worth a shot, because if you put the time and effort in, you'll definitely get a lot more out of them. So if you have enjoyed the episode, do hit the like button. If you're new around here, hit the sub button. And if you've not checked out fmscout.com, do get yourself over there. You'll find all the latest news, tactics, graphics, you name it. It's all on FM Scout. And other than that, guys, I've been Teach FM, and I'll catch you later. See you in a bit.